Hey everyone, welcome back with being on Mac, where today we're going to once again continue our playthrough of Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. And this time we're playing as Baraka, and we're fighting our own Tarkatan forces. You know, he's seen enough, he's seen the damage they were doing, and Baraka said he had to step in and put a stop to this, but his soldiers weren't listening. I don't understand how that guy did not get impaled like 10 times over on those spikes. He was like through them. Goodness, looking like an idiot out here. If I could be serious though for just one goddamn minute, I think it's about time for that question of the day as usual. What would your guys' ideal Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks sequel be? And feel free to be as descriptive as possible too. If I had to argue my ideal sequel, well, there is Fire and Ice that was supposed to be a thing, and if there ever is a sequel, let's be honest, that's what it's gonna be. Sub-Zero and Scorpion, you know, I don't think it would be the same story as it would have taken place during the events of MK4, and that kind of complicates things now that we have like the multiple timelines, like not even just 2 timelines, but we have freaking 3 of them, I think. Not even 3, we just have an infinite amount at this point. I don't even know what's going on with the normal timeline that we're in right now at this point. It's all confusing. Like, they should, like I've said a million times, them rebooting the timeline and MK9 to restart the story and seemingly like they were going to go in a different direction this time around with it was fine. Because it was a means to an end, but I mean, I don't know. I don't really understand the appeal of having multiple timelines. How that's supposed to make things interesting. When really, to me, it seems like you just can't get connected to any of these characters, and you got weird things too, like Quan Chi is Sub-Zero. Ooh, that was pretty cool. But I don't know, it's just a weird, weird stuff that they created at this point. You know, it's kind of like, why should I get invested in this game with this timeline, with this story, when you know, it could all be meaningless and stuff like that. You know, I mean, the original timeline that lasted what, well, 8 games. Well, actually 7 games. And now, so why isn't it that, you know, the freaking next timeline can't last longer than 3 games? You know what I mean? Just frustrating. But that said, we're talking about my ideal Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks game here, so I don't know. I mean, ideally, if I would like something, it doesn't have to be the main character, but obviously being my favorite, I would love to have some sort of game where, you know, you're playing as Ermac in some way, shape, or form. You know, even if it's just a bonus character, you know, not part of the story. Good lord, they're shredding the shit out of me. This is like the track. Yeah, the Tarkatan warriors are really annoying, and they're also so ruthless. But I guess that's kind of like all enemy types, really, that they can just be super annoying, where you get comboed endlessly like that. Of course I missed him. But yeah, I mean, that's all I can really think of as far as my ideal Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. You know, Fire and Ice would be really awesome to have. Maybe something, I don't know, I think the 3D era would be a really cool one if, you know, I think it'd be awesome if we had one for Taven and Dagon, really. I think that'd be a really awesome kind of thing, you know, reimagining, maybe give them another chance at being the top stars in the spotlight. But I don't know, that we would just have to, it would be kind of like a redemption type thing in my opinion, and you know, since it'd be a different timeline, you could have, you know, a timeline where Haven and Dagon actually wake up together, and maybe at the end there could still be some sort of like fight between the two, kind of like in Streets of Rage, where, you know, at the end of the co-op thing you can have the guys fight, you know, take on Blaze and fight off Armageddon and all this other sort of stuff. And you know, since it would be I mean, theoretically, you could just use any characters that you would want for any of the stories, but I think since it'd be based around Armageddon and stuff like that, it would be really cool if, you know, they just kind of use like as many characters as they possibly could. And then it would also open it up for like a lot of really awesome, cool, anybody can go boss fights and stuff like that. And I don't know what about the areas, you know, I would assume it would be similar to something like how Conquest was in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. You know, you'd have like the usual things. You would have like the Botan jungle, and then the Temple of Argus, and then you could have you know, Arctica, where Taven and Dagon would go and they would find their armor and their mother's temple and the Lin Kuei temple and stuff like that. That'd be pretty awesome, but I'd like a little bit of mix-up, obviously, you know, because, you know, you don't want to repeat ones that wouldn't be necessary, like, you know, the freaking Takunin warship. Obviously, the Red Dragon wouldn't really be a thing because Dagon would not have existed at that time, and I would prefer if they would keep it out of that. I think it would just be really cool if Dagon was just a good guy, and maybe over time you would see him turn villainous, or really I think it'd just be cool. I feel like they would be tempted to, like, you know, quote-unquote subvert expectations and have it where Taven would be the one who would turn evil and stuff like that on Dagon, but I think it would just be really cool if they could make a game without having to have some crazy plot twist, where they could just have it be where you know, they're both just good at the end, you know, because obviously you're playing as those characters and stuff like that, and just, you know, find another way to make those characters interesting, you know, give them some personality, really. I think it's just what they would need. You know, really show Taven being kind of like Kung Lao in this game, where he's, you know, more of kind of, not necessarily evil or anything like that, but just more of an asshole, doesn't have time for things, kind of like what we've seen a little bit of him in Armageddon, with the monks and stuff like that he saved. And, you know, you already have built-in enemies too, you know, the Tengu, the Snow Ninjas. I don't know who, I would prefer somebody other than the Black Dragon and the freaking Botan Jungle. Same with, you know, obviously they would have to bring in new people for the Temple of Argus, and maybe they could have it where, like, turns out, you know, like his father, maybe Rain took out, you know, Argus and stuff like that in Delia instead of Dagon this time, and, you know, it could be a really good way of having Rain be the main villain and expand his character a lot too. But maybe not the main villain, but, you know, like one of the main central antagonists. I think that would be really cool if Taven and Dagon went against their half-brother. So I guess my ideal one would just be a retelling of Armageddon, honestly. It'd be cool if there was maybe some, or I don't know, I guess it wouldn't need RPG elements like Deception, because we're talking about a Shaolin Monks one, not a Conquest retelling, so. Alright, let's take out the center gate here, folks. I wonder if I just were to stand here long enough, if the gate would just automatically open. And I wouldn't have to deal with fighting the enemies or not. Not going to do that because that'd be incredibly boring, but you know how it is. Gotta give it a try. And I gotta wonder, if that hole wasn't there, how the hell did these monks get up onto the top there to be able to, you know, work these things? Just a weird, I don't know, just one of those things where you think of, like, you know, the logic behind these, the architecture and whatnot. I don't know, maybe they all just do the wall run technique. And Wu Kang and Kung Lao are just worse off at it than most Shaolin monks. Alright, we got our first health upgrade. I feel like there's not enough of them in this game. There's 3 of them. And they're like weird, like, I don't know, it's just weird spacing between them. Because you have 2, and you have 1 in the early game, which we just got. Then you got 1 for the Living Forest. And then you go like 4 levels without getting another one. Unless if I'm misremembering, but I don't think, I just want to try something. Yeah, I didn't think that would work. But unless if I'm mistaken, I don't think you get a health upgrade for saving Cabal. But maybe you do. I know you get a lot of experience for it, as well as this hook source that you can't use because of the way that the level is structured, but I don't think you get a health upgrade. Also, for Shaolin monks and peacefulness and all this other stuff, like, why the hell do they just have this kind of stuff? I don't know, maybe it's for like cooking dinner or something like that usually. Let's take out this last guy. Oh man, I think Johnny Cage took my kill. This is always a funny scene to me. I don't know what they're thinking trying to take on Raiden like that, especially with only 2 of them.
Shang Tsung, you defy the elder gods. You are violating the rules of mortal combat, you traitor.
I wonder why Raiden always called him a traitor too. Because I mean, it's not like Shang Tsung's from. Pretty sure Shang Tsung is from Outworld, so that wouldn't really make much sense. Unless if I just misheard and I'm completely creditless on that statement and Raiden didn't call him a traitor. But maybe I'm just not up on my MK lore.
Test your might.
And you gotta feel for those poor burning Shaolin monks in the background, but it gets to a comical level and freaking yeah, the soul tombs and stuff like that. You know, I think this is a pretty cool room idea and stuff like that, but I feel like, I get it, they're really trying to nail down the test your might things, but I feel like there's just a few too many in this room to where it kind of gets annoying after a while. God, of course, you know, I'm aiming at the freaking Shaolin monks on fire, too. Alright, we got him.
Test your might.
I think there's 5 of these in this room. But I'll say that, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. I just love how every mechanic in like the old game seems to just seamlessly blend in with this gameplay and works so well repurposed for this game. You know, from its characters, its stories, its settings, you know, the gameplay features like test your might. It's all just amazing.
Well done.
Yeah, like, see, even like they could have done without like this center one at the very least.
Test your might.
Or at least made it like go down further so it seems like it's actually
Well
like who even set this up, this mechanic here? I mean, was this designed in case of a fire like ever broke out, or like such a weird, I don't know. Like I said, I always keep thinking about the actual architecture of how these things work. Some games anyway, like games I've played long enough.
test your might.
How much you want to bet as soon as I'm done with this, that guy's gonna like throw some sort of punch or something? Yep.
Outstanding.
Trying to shoot me though. I love how does that even work? I don't know. I'm questioning things too much here. Ah, geez, of course he got me with that cheap shot. Oh, missed him.
They took Soma and killed I don't know how many monks. Should my family feel honored now?
Yeah, I gotta wonder how many of those monks even survived. Oh, jeez. That was stupid of me. And multiple secrets in some areas. That's pretty interesting. What? How did that not work? I always loved how that just suddenly breaks. They couldn't have figured out another way to not have you go through the portal or whatever. Like, they could have just had it where, like, you go up and you interact with it and it says, hey, this portal doesn't seem safe. We should wait for Raiden or something like that. Instead, they have those rocks that are just blocking your path that just seemingly get destroyed. I probably could have finished them off with that, but yeah, I can't really get away with that death animations like that in modern games. But that's about it for today's episode. So thank you guys so much for watching. And if you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out next week's episode on Fighting Friday. But above all else, though, please remember to have a nice day.
Shang Tsung's magic? How can we trust his warnings? I know how Shang Tsung thinks. I will not have as much power in Outworld. But here, I have the power to make the way safe. If I had let you enter before, you would have been pulled inside out. This is what I can offer you in the conflict to come.